Live from Paris, the city of light, and La Villette Center for Science and Industry, here again, Mr. Telly Savalas.
For those eager passengers who waited for Titanic's sailing day, April 10th, 1912 was a long time coming. But as the great day dawned, all of Southampton was charged with excitement at last. Sailing day. The creme de la creme of society has arrived to take its place aboard the floating palace. Among the notables were this couple, Isidor Straus, founder of Macy's, and Mrs. Straus.
Colonel John Jacob Astor, one of America's richest men. Mining tycoon Benjamin Guggenheim. Mrs. J.J. Brown, a colorful, tough-talking millionaire from Denver. She was known to her friends as Molly. The Cardazes of Philadelphia, they're traveling light. They arrive with only a valet and maid, 14 trunks, 4 suitcases, and 3 crates of baggage.
One observer estimates the collective worth of Titanic's celebrated first class at $3 billion in today's American dollars. Almost everyone was excited by the approaching voyage. Eva Hart, though, remembers a mother's fear.
Young as I was, I knew that there was this something in the air about it because my mother was so terribly upset at the thought of going because she had this premonition of danger, but she couldn't think what it was. And we weren't booked in the Titanic anyway. We were booked in a ship called the Philadelphia. And there was a coal strike and she didn't sail. And we were transferred to the Titanic, which everyone thought was a wonderful piece of luck. And that's when my mother's apprehension became worse. She said to my father, "I think I know now why I'm frightened." And he said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "Because this is the ship that they say is unsinkable." And he put his arm round her shoulders, and I can see this quite clearly. And he said, "No, my dear, this is the ship that is unsinkable." And she said, "Well, that is flying in the face of God, and that's why I'm frightened."
Seconds before noon, she sounds the 3 traditional blasts of farewell. After calling at Cherbourg for passengers, she's underway again for Ireland and a final stop at Queenstown before the crossing. As Ireland fades in the mist, their hopes and dreams are of the new world, not of the next.
Time passes quickly for most of the voyage. The Titanic is following the Great Circle route. This northern route is the shortest and fastest way to New York. She gives her passengers the best band on the ocean and plenty to keep them busy. It's not inexpensive. For a 7-day crossing, her 4 top suites cost the equivalent of $320,000 present-day dollars.
In the Titanic's lookout, a full-time ice watch has been ordered to full alert. 20 minutes before midnight, April 14th, the Titanic is shaken by a very distant jolt. Passengers above have no idea what's happening below the waterline.
What is it? Iceberg, sir. I put her hard to starboard and reversed the engines, but she was too close.
I splashed my drink.
What will you stopped for?
There's talk of an iceberg, ma'am.
We are in a precarious position. We must be prepared to abandon ship.
By midnight, Captain Smith knows the worst. In seconds, the ship has been fatally wounded. Despite the double bottom, the watertight doors, the compartmented bulkheads, despite the highest art of the shipbuilder, the Titanic will be on the bottom in less than 3 hours. Captain Smith also knows that the ship carries lifeboats for less than half the passengers. By 12:30, Captain Smith orders the lifeboats loaded. Women and children first. Bertram Dean was only a child on that fateful night, but he remembers what his father did.
My father helped us into the lifeboat. And then it was women and children only. He said, "Well, cheerio, I'll see you later. But of course, we never saw him anymore.
Distress signals are urgently sent. Other ships are in the vicinity. For the first time in history, the SOS is sent by a liner. The Californian lies safely at a dead stop less than 10 miles away. No answer. Her wireless operator has gone to bed. Within minutes, the liner Carpathia wires back. She's 58 miles away and coming hard. From the nearby Californian, which was clearly visible, still only silence.
God help you.
At 2:20 a.m., April 15th, 1912, the RMS Titanic slipped quietly beneath the surface. The sinking of... The sinking of the RMS Titanic began with a small jolt, but its impact rocked the world, and the aftershock is felt today. Nothing would ever again be the same. The world had lost its innocence.
Newspapers around the world began to receive news of the disaster with as much disbelief and confusion as the public. On both sides of the Atlantic, relatives and friends besieged the White Star offices, desperately waiting, hoping, praying that their news would be good. It would be several days before the world would learn the truth. In Southampton, home to more than 800 of the Titanic's crew, these neighborhoods were thrown into shock and grief. 580 of them perished. In this Southampton elementary school, 125 children lost one of their parents. Disbelief gave way to grief, and it was universal. St. Mary's Church was the scene of a memorial service attended by hundreds. A memorial plaque to the ship's crew still hangs in an honored location.
In a moment, we'll return to reveal for the first time new historical evidence which may provide the real reason that a Titanic sank. We'll be... When the Titanic plunged to her grave more than 75 years ago, no one believed she would ever be seen again. Until recently, most felt the Titanic was sunk by a 300-foot-long can-opener-like gash ripped in her side as she grazed the iceberg. In 1986, one expert claimed the iceberg impact had popped rivets and sprung steel plates, causing the fatal flooding. Now, for the first time ever, we've discovered and photographed the most startling new evidence since the disaster. A previously unknown hole at this point in the starboard bow.